Did we talk about the floor being sensitive and that mic being sensitive, picking up everything? Yeah, any little tap on the floors up here, it'll pick it up. So just
Yeah, but, go ahead.
gotta be careful.
I'll adjust that, you guys, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Robert Mitchell, Chairman of the Board for the Rockport Fulton Chamber of Commerce and a leadership class of 19 graduates. Welcome to a long-standing tradition of the Leadership Aransas County Alumni Association holding these informational panels on the issues facing Aransas County. Now I'll turn the program over to Chad Lee.
Thank you, Robert. My name is Chad Lee, Leadership Aransas County Class 19 graduate and LAC Alumni Chairman. Welcome to the LAC Candidates Panel and Issues Forum. Tonight's forum will be recorded live on Facebook. Robert Mitchell, graduate Class 19, will recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Our evening's invocation will be given by Pastor Nick Indridson of Church Unlimited.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you, leadership of Aransas County Chamber of Commerce. Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for this day, Lord. Thank you that we can come together as a county to learn of the issues that we need to know, Lord. I just pray right now that we stay civil in our Facebook and all of our posts, Lord. I just pray right now, Lord, for our leadership of our country. Your word says that we should pray for our leaders, Lord. And right now, our president is in the hospital with COVID-19, and we just pray for him. We lift him up and his family and all of his staff. Lord, I just pray right now, Lord, for the long-term recovery of Rockport, Fulton, for Aransas County, Lord. I just thank you for the leadership that you have placed here and pray for them every day, Lord. Just lift them up right now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Indridson. I'm honored to have the opportunity to be a part of this evening and want to thank each candidate for their attendance. Our timekeeper tonight will be Sarah Solis, LAC graduate, class 20. Our question review panel this evening will be Jack Wright, class number 10, and Michelle Lewis, class number 21. I would like to now introduce our moderator, Paulo Salazar. Paulo Salazar joined the KRIS 6 news team in 2018, where he anchored the 5 and 9 p.m. newscast and reported on feature stories until 2020. He was recently promoted to take over the KRIS 6 Sunrise Show, which is one of the station's most watched broadcasts. He spent 5.5 years in Tallahassee, Florida, where he served as the station's primary evening anchor for WTXL ABC 27. Before making his way to Florida, he spent 6 years on Columbus, Mississippi at WCBI News, bringing the latest to the Golden Triangle area as the station's main morning anchor and midday anchor. During his time with WCBI News, he performed several duties, including senior investigative reporter, weekend anchor, and ending his time as the station's primary morning and noon anchor. Paulo earned his bachelor's degree in broadcasting from Mississippi State University and is proud to be a Bulldog. He is a Texas native, born in Corpus Christi, but raised in San Antonio. After being away from the Lone Star State for 18 years, Paulo is glad to have made it back to the place he has called his home. Paulo has spent 12 years as a journalist and won 3 Associated Press Awards and has been nominated as an Emmy in the North Florida region. He enjoys bringing the community he serves the best breaking news and stories impacting those around him. In his free time, Paulo enjoys the beach, fishing, live music, watching the MSU Bulldogs, rooting for San Antonio Spurs and Dallas Cowboys. If you have a story idea for Paulo, you can email him at paulo.salazar@kristv.com or reach him on Facebook at Paulo Salazar KRIS 6 News. Please give Paulo Salazar a warm welcome, and we will go over the guidelines for this evening's event.
Thank you, Chad. Well, this evening we will be presenting 8 informational briefings pertaining to current issues that we're facing right here in our community. Leadership of Aransas County alumni will be presenting those briefings, and the presenters are. Briefing 1, county seat importance, will be done by Dana Kiesel, class of 22. Briefing 2, what are the offices in the courthouse and why are they needed, will be given by Judge Richard Bianchi, class of 11. Briefing 3, the overall impact of the Downtown Anchor Project and on downtown Rockport. That'll be given by Jennifer Day, class of 16. Briefing 4, how will the Downtown Anchor Project be funded? That'll be given by Elizabeth Lyons, class of 21. Briefing 5, courthouse construction, will be given by Chad Lee, class of 19. Briefing 6, the election process and ballots, will be given by Betty Stiles, class of Suite 16. Briefing 7, roads and drainage as it pertains to the downtown anchor project, will be given by Karen Klein Tardif, class of 18. And briefing 8, the overall wrap-up, will be given by Jatin Bhatta, class of 16. And it is good to know by now early voting begins Monday, October 12th, and will continue until October 30th. Election day, of course, is November 3rd. Dates, times, and locations can be found by going online to aransascountytx.gov. Now, here are the guidelines to follow. All candidates will have 3 minutes to give their opening statement. After opening statements and questions, an answer period will follow. Written questions are presented to the question review panel prior to being asked to a specific candidate. Your question can only be directed towards one candidate. The candidate then has 1 minute to respond to the question. Opposing candidate will also have 1 minute for rebuttal. At the end of the evening, the closing round will consist of each candidate being given 1 minute to give their closing statement. Our timekeeper tonight will be keeping track of your time, and way of lights is Sarah Solis. We're going to test those out now. The green light shows that you can begin. The yellow light will show that your time is getting close to running out. That is the 30-second mark. The red light will signify that your time is up. We ask that you quickly finish your thought and stop talking. So let us begin with the briefings. We'll begin with briefing 1, County Seat Importance by Dana Kiesel, class.
Good evening. My name is Dana Kiesel, and I'm a leadership alumnus from class 22. I was the director for class 23 and served on the Leadership Aransas County Steering Committee for all of last year. I'm a resident in Rockport, and I work in interior design. My brief is to reflect on what does it mean to our community to be a county seat. The Texas Constitution provides that every county shall have a county seat where the principal offices and permanent records are kept. By definition, being a county seat means an administrative center and a seat of government of a county. It provides a centralization of service in terms of activities and procedures to meet the needs of the population. A county seat houses historical documents such as birth, marriage, death, and property records. It's important for us to reflect on our history, which told us in March 1871. Because the great cattle boom had established Rockport as the most important town in the area, Rockport then became the county seat of Refugio County. On September 18th of the same year, the legislature voted to divide the county and designated much of the coastal area as a new county named Aransas. Rockport was made the county seat, and on March 26, 1872, the County Commissioners Court met for the first time in a rented frame house. The General Land Office designates the geographic center of the county based on the maps, surveys, and other information on file in the General Land Office. In 1888, the Aransas Pass Land Company instituted a comprehensive plan to develop Rockport and the surrounding region. Lured by the promise of a bright future, numerous immigrants from the Old South and Europe were drawn to the county. And by 1890, the population had grown to 1,824. A new county courthouse designed by J. Riley Gordon was built in 1889 at 301 North Live Oak Street, the designated geographic center of our county. Today, there are 254 county seats in Texas. We are the 125th. It is interesting to reflect on what our forefathers had envisioned for our community as they contemplated that very first courthouse. As we contemplate our third, we continue to be proud of our county seat status and that vision of all those years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Briefing 2, what are the offices in the courthouse and why they are needed? Judge Richard Bianchi, class.
Good afternoon. Our prior courthouse came to an end after some 50-plus years of service to this community. Hurricane Harvey saw to its demise. Now it's time to replace that building with a new structure that meets the needs of this growing community. New location will be 1 block east of where the old courthouse was. Fortunately, Commissioners Court had the foresight some 8 years ago to buy that block of land knowing this day would come. It is also located catty corner to the existing jail facility. That's critical because clearly daily, almost daily, inmates from that jail are moved to and from the courthouse for court hearings. So what's not in the courthouse? The new courthouse doesn't have a Starbucks. We don't have a swimming pool, a tennis court, or a jogging trail. What we're providing is the workspace to go forward to provide the services this community wants. The first floor of this new building will contain the county clerk's office and the JP offices. The justices of the peace have a lot of foot traffic. The county clerk records include all the real estate records, the trial records from the county clerk, from the county court of law, and the justice of the peace office. They were put on the first floor to make sure they had the best access for the public. The second floor, we have the county court of law courtroom, the district courtroom, the county district attorney's offices, and the grand jury room. That is a busy place as well, but doesn't have the public traffic that the first floor has. That district courtroom and the county courtroom are used a lot. And in fact, the county courtroom, 4 days a week is an average, 5 days a week some weeks. And here is the real kicker for the courtrooms. We have 3 district judges. They are constantly in need of courtrooms. One isn't enough. So there's a constant struggle between my court, county court, and the 3 district judges for the space to move forward on the cases that pertain to this community's business. The third floor solves that problem, and it's critical. You will see if you look at the little drawing, which I know you can't possibly see from where you're at, but it includes the commissioner's courtroom. That will serve the needs of the commissioners, but it will also be the overflow courtroom for the district judges and the county court judge as needed. You will also find on that floor the other administrative offices, the county treasurer, the county auditor. These are offices that work in conjunction with Judge Mills, the county judge, day in and day out. It is a working facility. It is designed to meet the needs of the community now as well as into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Next up, briefing 3, the overall impact of downtown anchor project on downtown Rockport. Jennifer Day.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Day, and I'm a graduate from Leadership Aransas County, Sweet 16 class. I love being a part of the LAC program because of my wanting to be involved and make a difference in my community. Because of that involvement, I was recognized as a Citizen of the Year in 2019. I'm a resident of Rockport and a downtown business owner. That's why I'm here today to talk with you. I'm also the Executive Director of the Rockport Cultural Arts District, and I am not speaking on behalf of the Board of Directors or the district. With that being said, let's look at the impacting parts of the downtown anchor project. Parking spaces. Parking spaces mean potential cars to the downtown area between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. With more than 1,000 spaces in and around the courthouse and the city hall, that means cars coming into this concentrated area. Another impacting part is an anchor. In retail, an anchor tenant, sometimes called an anchor store, is a considerably larger tenant in a shopping mall, often a department store or a retail chain. With their broad appeal, they are intended to attract significant cross-section of the shopping public. to its current location. The anchor project is designed to be that anchor, bringing traffic to the downtown area. Another impacting part is courts. The buildings will house our municipal, county, and district court systems, therefore bringing a continuous flow of traffic to the downtown area during the day. Another impacting part is the harborfront development. Our downtown businesses continually get asked, when is the downtown going to be developed? Who owns your harborfront? With an investment such as this, the Downtown Anchor Project, it will send the message to investors that we are ready for development. The Rockport Center for the Arts Project. The Economic Development Administration, after Hurricane Harvey, saw fit to fund $5 million towards the development of a new art and performing arts center. That complex, over time, will elevate the arts. The Depot Project. The Rockport Cultural Arts District has plans to restore a significant historic asset and purpose its use for the benefit of the community. The goal is to utilize the depot as a main transportation hub and provide mobility options such as bicycle rentals, covered trolley stop, and public bathrooms. Additionally, the depot will be added as an active historic site for the community and create a brand new tourism sector. As you can see, the Downtown Anchor Project will bring much needed life and vibrancy to the downtown area. Maximizing opportunities, being proactive rather than reactive. Taking the lead in the responsible growth of our community is an opportunity we all have. It's also a responsibility not lightly taken. The drive is to effectively manage resources that attract and draw new tourists, future residents, and result in a larger tax base. Thank you.
Thank you. Briefing 4, how will the Downtown Anchor Project be funded? That's given to us by Elizabeth Lyons.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Lyons. I'm a leadership alumnus from class 21. I have thoroughly enjoyed my participation in the Leadership Aransas County program that allowed me to get to know my community, my fellow residents of our county, and to also make a difference in my community and its future. My brief is to talk about the financial aspect of the Downtown Anchor Project. I want to give you information for you to think about in regards to our county being able to financially handle this project. The financial value of the 3 propositions on the ballot are as follows. Proposition A, $17.2 million to augment funding of building the county courthouse. Proposition B, $1.3 million, which is a part of a match program to fund road and drainage improvements. And Proposition 3, which is $1.4 million to match a grant of $10.4 million for a micro hospital. The courthouse could be built at a total cost of around $27.2 million. Another $9.9 million coming from federal and state grants and insurance proceeds. Preliminary designs are still being reviewed for potential cost savings, and the final cost can only be determined once construction contracts are executed. The county has received funding commitments from various federal and state agencies and insurance proceeds to mitigate the costs of these projects. The total of these non-debt funding sources is approximately $9.95 million, as I mentioned, for the courthouse. The entire $3.6 million cost of Celebration Plaza will be paid for the GLO with GLO grant funds. Collectively, the courthouse and Celebration Plaza are anticipated to cost about $30.8 million. Of this amount, $13.5 million, which is 44% of the total, is anticipated to be paid by federal and state grants and insurance. The balance of the funds required, which is the 17.2 mentioned, the local effort is expected to come from the issuance of debt. The county intends to lower the debt tax rate by approximately half a cent from 5.2 cents to 4.7 for the tax year 2020, fiscal year ending 2021. Passing this bond is not anticipated to have any effect on that rate. Per the county's financial advisor, interest rates on debt are the lowest since 1952 at 3.4% for 25 years. And with the excellent bond ratings that the county has, they're currently rated AA+, the county would be well received by investors. The advisor also notes that in addition to the lowest rates seen since 1952, strong growth in the area since Hurricane Harvey, and modest debt burdens that allow the county to pay off quickly, and with strategic use of reserve funds, the debt tax rate at the county should not need to be adjusted further. Thank you.
Elizabeth, thank you. Next up, we have briefing 5, and it'll be the county courthouse construction by Chad Lee, class.
Thank you, Paulo. Good evening, my name is Chad Lee. I'm leadership alumni from class 19. I'm a general contractor and I live and work in Rockport. My brief is to reflect on my research about how Aransas County Courthouse will be built. At this point in the process, there's little firm information for the courthouse design due to the fact that the county has not secured funding for the structure. One of the scopes of work that appears to be fairly firm for the courthouse is that it will have a concrete slab poured on numerous concrete piers for support under the slab beams. The slab location will have compacted limestone base laid down prior to pouring concrete. The finished floor over the slab will be at a FEMA elevation number 12, which should end up being about 6 feet above the surrounding grade and 12 feet above mean sea level. The higher finished floor elevation will allow for enhanced protection for hurricane storm surge. The exposed face of the concrete slab will be covered with a shellcrete veneer. The walls and framing of the structure will either be steel or concrete and steel. There is more cost associated with concrete and steel, but it gives a better windstorm protection than just a steel frame. The windows, doors, framing, and roof of the structure will be windstorm rated up to 150 miles an hour. The structure will be compliant with the Texas Department of Insurance windstorm standards and Miami-Dade standards. The look of the exterior walls will be Spanish Mediterranean with architectural features such as arches and a clock tower. The roof will be a terracotta colored standing seam metal roof. I have to assume that the envelope of the building, which is behind the outer veneer, will have a commercial grade vapor, moisture, and air barrier. Such barriers are often fluid applied flashings rather than tape to keep moisture and air from getting from the outside to the inside of the building. I also have to assume that the building will have a robust ventilation and mechanical system to exhaust air, but also bring in makeup air to keep the building under positive pressure compared to the outside air. The makeup air creating positive pressure will reduce the amount of outside unconditioned air getting into the building. Modern HVAC or mechanical systems combined with dehumidification and proper ventilation should allow for the building to be a long-lasting and healthy building to use by citizens, county staff, and elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Briefing 6, the election process and ballots. We have Betty Stiles, class of 16.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Betty Stiles. I am a graduate of Leadership Class 16. I'm here to talk to you about elections. I was former party chairman as well as former county commissioner. So what is an election? And the election process begins with primary elections and caucuses. These are two methods that states use to select a potential presidential nominee. Caucuses are local gatherings of voters who vote at the end of the meeting for a particular candidate. Then it moves to nominating conventions, during which political parties each select a nominee to unite behind. Ballots. First then, are you registered to vote? You need to check before going to the polling place, or you're going to be kind of embarrassed waiting in line for a long period of time and then realize you can't vote. Your voter registration card changes every 2 years. It will let you know what voting district you live in. They are as follows: U.S. Representative, State Representative, State Senate, Precinct, and your JP. You are allowed to register to vote up to 30 days prior to the election if you've been a resident for 6 months. Candidates on the ballot in an election are listed. Many different parties are represented. They can be Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green, or Independent. What is a measure? A measure is an ordinance, question, issue, or a bond submitted to a vote of the people at any election. Local questions, issues, or amendments are referred to as measures, while those that are voted upon statewide are called propositions. It must contain a box to vote for or against. What is the Electoral College? During the general election, Americans go to their polling place to cast their vote for president. But the tally of those votes, the popular vote, does not determine the winner. Instead, presidential elections use the Electoral College. To win the election, a candidate must receive a majority of electoral votes. In the event no candidate receives a majority, the House of Representatives chooses the president and the Senate chooses the vice president. If you want the big cities to determine who your president is, then get rid of the Electoral College, because our little county vote won't count. The honor I had bestowed on me was I was an elector to the Electoral College for the state of Texas. It's quite an honor. There were only 36 of us in the room, and we got to sit at the House of Representatives. So I'm honored to have been elected. I had to run for that position in our congressional caucus, and I managed to make it. I got there, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Briefing 7, roads and drainage as it pertains to the downtown anchor project will be read by Karen Klein-Tardy, class 18.
Good evening, my name is Karen Tardick, and I'm a leadership alumnus from class 18. I am a resident of Lamar, and I work all over the county, including in the city of Rockport. My brief is about the roads and drainage aspect of the downtown anchor project. My husband and I own a local excavation company, and we install lots of culverts and driveways all over the county and help people deal with their flooding issues. And I want to give you some information for you to think about in regards to our county and its movement of water to the bays. Now, when you speak of Aransas County in terms of drainage, think of a golf ball. Its surface is covered with dimples, and that is basically what you see when you look at a topographic map. Thousands of depressions that fill up when it rains, then spill out when full. Now, looking for the next dimple to fill up. During droughts, these depressions will look like a clear pasture and an ideal place to build a home, and then it starts raining. We have been called out to look at so many places underwater after a rain because they have just moved here and were told you're not in a flood zone. But that doesn't matter when you're standing in 2 feet of water. So you'll see many areas throughout the county holding water during the wet season, and often a home sitting in the middle of a pond. And homeowners are asking for help. Even during the recent tropical storm, which didn't even hit us, we had a large portion of our city underwater. And you've seen the pictures, or maybe you even drove by and looked at it. The roads around the designated courthouse, the city's master drainage plan identifies a new 6-foot by 3-foot box culvert to be installed under Concho Street from Highway 35 Business down to the Rockport Harbor. The streets surrounding the downtown anchor can be retrofitted to convey storm water to this new drainage structure. J. Schwartz and Associates are currently working on construction plans for this major drainage structure to be completed in time to provide an adequate drainage system for the downtown anchor. This is going to be vital as we are seeing more and more storms in the Gulf and more stormwater needing to be moved away from our homes and businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Briefing 8, the overall wrap-up be done by Jatine Pop, class of 16.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening. My name is Jatine Bogdan. I'm a leadership class 16 alumni. I served on the LAC steering committee for many years because I wanted to learn and be involved in my community. The leadership Aransas County classes have cultivated strong citizens and leaders throughout our community. I'm a resident of Lamar and work in Rockport in the hospitality industry. My brief is to reflect on a wrap-up of the issues portion of this. Hopefully you feel more informed this evening as you have learned about what it means for us to be the county seat. Our historic courthouses and our public assets, and it is the responsibility of the public officials and staff to ensure their continued operation to allow future users to enjoy them. They are the pride of the people. The courthouse is often the most prominent building in a small community. Historic Texas courthouses are the location of not only essential county business, but they are often the asset of their communities in many other ways. Courthouses serve as cornerstones for tourism, provide event space, and are backdrops for photos, and have even been used as film sets. They house historical documents, our court system, and service for our county. You have learned how many rooms are needed in the courthouse, what they are, and why they are needed. You were briefed on the construction aspect, how it will be financed, what we are facing in regards to roads and drainage system projects. You learned about the election process, the ballot, and where to go to vote. Take this information and let this knowledge and clarity define your vote. Thank you.
Jatine, thank you for that. Thank you, leadership Aransas County alumni, for those informational briefings. Let us begin now with the candidates panel portion of our program. We would have incumbent Mayor Pat Rios and his contender. Unfortunately, his contender Keith Allen had other obligations this evening and could not attend. So typically we would read his bio at that moment, but he never submitted a bio. So we will go with the questions.
Maybe a little bit of a pause to get people lined up.
3 minutes.
Hopefully, take it 3 minutes.
You may go with the guidelines. Go with the guidelines once again, Mayor. All candidates have 3 minutes to give their opening statement. After the opening statements, a question and answer period will follow. Written questions will be presented, and they will be presented to the review panel prior to being asked to a specific candidate. Your question can only be directed towards one candidate. And the candidate then has 1 minute to respond. And if your opponent is here, you have 1 minute to review. At the end of the evening, the closing round will consist of each candidate being given 1 minute to give a closing statement.
Thank you, Howard. Yes. Thank you. I'd like to thank leadership of Aransas County for this opportunity to go before everyone to speak. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Patrick Rios, and I'm originally from San Antonio. I grew up, was raised in San Antonio. I attended Holy Cross High School. I went to San Antonio College, community college, Texas A&M University, College Station, and I also attended St. Mary's University. Very educational background, everything from life science to business. Rockport has always been part of our home. Growing up in San Antonio, it's a typical thing where the parents take you to North Beach. As you get older, you went to the National Seashore. And from your college and high school days, you went to Port Aransas. But as you started to figure things out, you figured out that Rockport was the place to be. So my wife and I, Patty, both grew up in San Antonio. I'm proud to say we've been married 48 years this past October. And we decided early on, many years ago, to make Rockport our home. We were coming to Rockport on a regular basis when we were living up north. We were coming here for the winters. We'd spend 4 to 6 months of the winter here. She would come down. I would commute back and forth for 10 days. We've just fallen in love with this place, and it's our home now. In 2011, I was actually recruited by some former city council members and mayors to consider helping the city out, and I volunteered on some committees. I spent some time on Tree and Landscape Committee, also spent a lot of time on the Environmental Water Quality Committee, and during that time I realized one of my big obligations is community service. So I again was recruited to run for city council. In 2013, I ran against an incumbent and was fortunate enough to win. The night I was sworn in, the council elected me as mayor pro tem. I served in that position since 2013 up to 2018, so for 5 years. I served as mayor pro tem, basically an assistant mayor. It was a trial by fire. I actually ran 4 of the first 8 city council meetings as our previous mayor had to be out of town, so I spent a lot of time learning on the go. It's been a very challenging situation, one that we all know was made more challenging by Harvey. I evacuated the family, stayed here during Harvey, and spent 15 nights on a cot. That's when I figured out I was really too old for that. But I've been involved in the rebuilding of the community since. We have many, many projects going. We've come a long way since then, but we have a long way to go. I'm proud to say that we're getting close to getting a lot of our projects done. I would hope that we can continue that. We were supposed to have our election in May because of the COVID situation. It's got pushed up to November. So I actually have 18 months left of service if I'm reelected in November. And I would gladly ask you for your vote and the opportunity to continue to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Go ahead and you can go ahead and stand at the podium.
Okay.
This will we'll now go to our questions and answer portion. Since you're the only one here.
Okay.
I will give you the first question. What do you feel your main qualifications are to continue as mayor?
Well, I believe it would be experience. The experience I've gathered in the last 7 years on council, the last 2.5 years as mayor. And during that time, I spent I've been involved in a variety of committees, subcommittees throughout the community, and also on the state level. That experience has given me a lot of networking possibilities. So we have contacts all over the state, on the state level, the regional level with the surrounding elected officials, and also on the national level. I've been fortunate to spend time with Senator Cornyn, Senator Cruz, Congressman Cloud. They'll take my phone call or they'll return it shortly thereafter, and they know that I'm not bashful or shy, so they will get a hold of me. So I believe that's one of my biggest strengths.
Next question, Mayor. What do you feel is your most important issue right now as mayor?
Well, it's the same right now, and it's the same as first day you become mayor. The single most important duty or primary responsibility of any mayor is the health, safety, and welfare of the community. That's number one job. The city is actually run by the city manager. We have a city manager, council, mayor, form of government. As far as power, the mayor has virtually no power. Each council member controls 20% or 1/5 of the city manager, the city attorney, and the city secretary. Everything else is run by the CEO of the city, who's the city manager.
Next question. Hopefully. I'm just gonna stand right up there.
Sure.
Anybody here have any questions?
Could you speak more on the new city hall?
Sure. City Hall, as everyone knows, our City Hall was destroyed by Harvey. It had been built in the 80s, and unfortunately, the day that it was occupied, from what I hear, it was too small. It had been value engineered and ended up to be too small, and over the years, it became even more of a burden to work out of. The importance for our new City Hall right now is continuity to get more efficiencies. Right now, our city employees are scattered all over the area. We have people that have been displaced that were working out of the service center that are now working out of unair conditioned or unheated garage bays. They have offices, they have internet connection. We have files stored in the halls, we have furniture stored in the halls of the service center. Our utility building is scattered, so what we want to do is we want to build one facility with some room for some excess capacity, so this will give us by for the next 10 to 20 years. We believe the slab is going to be there for 100 years. The building should be occupiable for 75 years. And as we know, this is going to be a building that we actually have to have for more efficiency.
Do we have any other questions for the mayor or the audience?
Mayor Rios, I have one. The only way I know to ask this question is, after the hurricane, we found out that municipalities largely don't have their facilities insured, such as City Hall. Is it impractical, or what keeps that from being in the forefront?
Well, we did have insurance at City Hall, but it was woefully inadequate. I mean, the building itself, after depreciation and years of just wear and tear, wasn't worth that much because it just deteriorated beyond any current value. So while the building was insured for a couple $1 million, we're happy to have that much. We do have funds from grants and from FEMA to rebuild with, but FEMA will only put you back to where you were. They won't give you anything to build for the future. So we've looked at this. Same thing with the county project. With the cost of money today, it would be irresponsible for the council not to make a move right now and finance this new City Hall. We've done a terrific job on managing our dollars, our payment, and our debt. It will be, it's a great investment for the future, and I think it's something that we'll be all be very proud of when we see it.
Mayor, could you comment on the status and condition of our police force?
Police force, that's a great question, Judge. Thank you. As you know, we have a new police chief. Well, he's about a little over a year now. Chief Greg Stevens, he's done a great job. He's a real proponent of community policing, which is very valued in commodity these days. I know that the force is excited to be working with him. He brings a lot of experience to the table in a different way. He's also looking at our community a little bit differently. He knows we're water-based, so he's working towards helping us get more resources to be able to control the water, be able to protect the waterfront, things like that. Done a great job.
We got another question from the audience, Mayor. A micro hospital was mentioned. How much of a possibility is that?
That's more of a county question. The city is, while we know we desperately need health care. The last study out of Texas A&M University indicated that we were 5.5 primary physicians short in the area. We lost our 2 urgent cares. A hospital would greatly benefit us, even a micro hospital. Right now, it's about a 40-minute trip by ambulance over to Corpus Christi. COVID has made it even more difficult. But that golden hour, that 1 hour from the time that you're diagnosed with issues, is important. This way, we can drop people off here at the hospital, and they can get treatment as they need to avoid that long trip over the bridge. So it's extremely important.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, what is the plan if Proposition 8 does not pass?
Which is a county proposition. Again, that would be more of a question for the county, but the impact on the city would be very undesirable. Right now, this whole project has been planned with economies of scale. By building the project together, we've been able to be assured by the architects, the engineers, and pretty much by the contractors that are looking to bid on this project, that would be able to get a better price, better discounts by buying basically in bulk. Because of 2 projects, actually 3 projects with the community building and the Celebration Plaza. So our numbers right now are developed on the worst possible case scenario, the highest rate. But we're looking at discounts that could run anywhere conservatively 5% to 10, 15%. You're talking about millions of dollars over the life of this thing. So it's extremely important to us. We're doing all we can to, from the city side, to encourage our citizens to take a look at this, to see what's going on, and to understand that this is a value proposition for all of us.
And Mayor, could you speak on the grant funding for the anchor project and how the future grant funding available to our community could be at risk if we turn down this opportunity?
That's very possible. It's something that's called a grantor fatigue. When people look at it, you go to all the effort to apply for grants, you write the grants, you make the case, you do your sales pitch, you work with all of the different entities. They take a look at you and you're in huge competition with other people for these grant dollars. When you're awarded one, it's a big high. You know you can get something, but then when you turn around and say, no, thanks, never mind. It makes those entities look back, especially on the federal side, where the competition is so strong for those dollars. Everyone's fighting for those dollars. And when you turn them down, you're probably not going to get a second look next time. They're just going to look at you and say, why should we go to all the trouble to do all this work, to sit in your grants when you turn them down? And again, this is money, grant money. There's no such thing as free money because we paid it in taxes, but now we're able to get the entire country to help us out. Money's from outside of our area.
Mayor, do you think our Main Street downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that?
It's honestly struggling right now. I know our merchants are having a tough time because of COVID. We were making a tremendous comeback after Harvey, once we started getting our businesses back, our hotels were back. We're sitting in a prime situation because right now people don't want to travel near a place. They don't want to go far away. They want to come here within driving distance of great markets in San Antonio, Houston, and Austin. We're affordable. We've got great offerings for people to come here. And our retailers were doing terrific. We had in our original offering for our certificate of obligation, we had money in there to remill Austin Street. We're going to put a new face on downtown. The downtown anchor project would be just a fresh new look that we were looking to help our merchants. We also had drainage projects down there. We can help all the drainage and things. When we were presented with a petition, all of that went away. We decided of the 13 projects we have on our certificate of obligation ask, we're only going to fund the 3 that are emergency. The rest of them will be put on the ballot in May. So we did honor the petitioner's request on the things that we put on. We just couldn't sit back and not do something on City Hall that's considered an emergency, as is the Keel Bridge, as is the drainage project.
Now, Mayor, what do you see, or what growth do you anticipate over the next 5 to 10 years?
It's a great question. Whoever asked that one, hopefully they can drive around the community and take a look. We lost population with Harvey. We lost a lot of affordable housing. But if you look at some of the projects that we've been working on the last 3 years, you'll see that they're now starting to come to fruition. We've got Pearl Point out on the bypass at Pearl. That's going to eventually be over 400 apartments. A couple of those buildings are already reserved by facilities or businesses in Portland. They're going to fill up as quickly as they can. First phase is almost done, so they decided to go ahead and move to the second phase. Across the street, we've got Logan's Crossing. Across from there, we've got Kokomo, which is another housing development. We've got market rate apartments. We've also got subsidized apartments coming back. What we're going to see is when you do the numbers of the available housing, in Sinton. We think we can see about a 2,000 person increase in the next couple of years in population, which is well over 20, close to 20% or over 20%. So it's going to happen.
What's more important to our city right now, Mayor? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing and expanding, better utilizing what we already have? These homes, these storefronts.
But we've done a great job in rebuilding housing. But a lot of that was made possible by the faith-based groups that came and helped us at the heart. Without those groups, the Mennonites, I know I'm going to leave a lot of them out. The Mennonites, the Amish, Texas Baptist Men, there's so many groups out there that came through to help us. We would not be as far along as we are now. Now that said, a lot of our buildings didn't make it, and a lot of the ones we have now are up in age. We've got some places here that are, life casting on a lot of these buildings is not 100 years. They're built in the 40 or 50 year age range, and that's what we're looking at right now in some of our retail space, some of our shopping centers. Someone's going to have to take a hard look at those and decide what we want to do for the future.
Some of the people in the community say we have a traffic issue. What are your thoughts on that, and how would you mitigate those concerns or change the situation?
Well, that's a strange question for me because I grew up in San Antonio, I lived in Dallas, I lived in Chicago, so gosh,
This is a joy, right?
I forgot the dog food the other day, and I had to drive all the way across town. It took me about 4
5
minutes.
minutes.
So it's a little different. I know we have traffic concerns over 4th of July, all the holiday weekends. That's a concern. We'll have our winter Texans coming back, and there'll be a little bit more traffic. But to be real honest with you, I do not see a traffic problem right now.
That's probably good traffic.
It is. It's good to see
Spending
traffic,
money.
actually. That's exactly the way I look. The more cars in town, better off we are, because that means more value for, more our workforce, our businesses. It's all of us.
If elected, what 3 steps would you take to put our city on a firmer financial footing?
Well, we're doing that right now. Again, building for the future. These housing projects, let's face it, our industry right now is tourism, and that's been hurt because of COVID. But it'll come back, it'll continue to be strong. What we have to offer right now is housing. Who doesn't want to live in Rockford? My mantra is live here, work in Portland. You're 20 minutes down the toll road, no stoplights. And it'll help our school system by getting kids in schools. We'll be able to attract better jobs, we'll get better health care. People want to be where things are going on. Now, we're never going to be a New Braunfels or a San Antonio. That's not who we are. That's not our community. We don't have that ability, but we can be better than we are right now. People want to live here. Let's face it, who wouldn't want to live here? So when we take a look at that, we have to capitalize on our assets. We have to do the best we can with what we have, and I think we're doing that now. I know there's some people that are not as happy with the sea growth, but it's got to be controlled. We're not going to ever be looking at smokestack businesses. It's not going to happen.
If you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why?
Well, it's we're doing that right now. When we talk about zoning, we're actually looking at our overall comprehensive master plan, which we've got more input, community input. We were blessed to have Texas A&M University and Texas Tech University come in after Harvey, and they provided us with a redo of a comprehensive master plan, which costs, when you add the landscaping, probably $250,000 to $400,000. That was given to the community by these institutions. With the American Planners Association come in and help us with that. That's going before the community right now. We're looking at doing a town hall, and out of that plan, we'll come up with more ideas. We'll take a look at our issues. We need to keep our zoning strict, protect as much as we can, but that's in process right now. And we invite community input.
Do you like being there?
You know what? I don't look at it that way. It's a job. One of the things that I was beat into me as a kid I had to do is I had to go to school, had to vote, and had to serve on jury duty. Well, that evolved into something else as anyone who gets married, it struggles in the beginning, everything from housing to finances to improving your job. I was very lucky and very blessed in my career. During that time, I found out that you have to give back, you have to help, and I had the time to do it. I'm fully retired now, and I was miserable at being retired. I failed terribly. I mean, I hunted, I fished, I played golf, I did all that, but I wasn't building things, I wasn't helping. And that's what my background was. That's what I've done all my career. Fortunately, I can afford to do this job. You don't do it for the money. And I mean, I cleared $334.80 a month. So, yeah. So it cost me, well, thank goodness gas is cheap, because it used to cost me more than that in gas, going up to different meetings and things. But I do enjoy it. Thank you.
How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process of the community?
We always value input. We look for ideas and suggestions from residents. We also have a city charter that we have to go by. There's a guideline. There's a book that says what we can or can't do. And it goes back to, like we were talking about, the city manager, what the mayor, what the council members can do. But remember, each council member only has one vote, and it takes a majority of 3 in most cases for something to pass. And when we get different input from different groups, we have to consider that in the overall scheme of things. There's so many people that, we have open workshops, we have open budget meetings, all of our planning sessions are open to the public. We really like people to kind of see that process so they understand what we're looking at. We go line by line on all the items, all the budget items. Each department head will present their cases for what they need or where they're going. And that all has to be balanced with one unfortunate limiting factor, and that's money. We only have so much money. And right now, it all comes, it's basically it's fees, it's taxes. And our tax rate right now is the 3rd lowest in the coastal county. So when we look at what we're doing a lot with what we have.
Talking about projects and proposals, if someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure, a road, bridge, etc., how would you evaluate whether that project was worth implementing?
Well, that's an interesting question because depending on what kind of road it is, TxDOT builds state roads. The county builds county roads. Roads and subdivisions and infrastructure like that is built by the developer. The developer comes to town and wants to build a housing subdivision or a retail shopping center, things like that. They're responsible for paying those building costs. The city doesn't fund that. So it would just depend on the project. We have to take a look at it. We have to look at where it's going to go. We never said no to anyone as far as sitting down and looking. We have passed on a couple of projects. They just didn't fit the city. They weren't what we were looking for. It's been quite a while. They weren't what we needed.
This one comes from a downtown business owner. How will the downtown anchor project help with our flooding issue every time it rains? And will the current drainage downtown Austin Street in particular be improved?
Again, the Concho Street drainage project, which is going to go on in conjunction with the downtown anchor project, will help some. But again, in that certificate of obligation, we had a drainage plan for Austin Street, which was specific to get the road milled and some more drainage boxes and to fix that drainage on South Austin Street and partial drainage to the south. Our south end of town floods all the time. But that was petitioned away by the group that was, and a lot of people didn't know what they were signing as far as the petition. They didn't understand that it was affecting drainage. They didn't understand it was affecting the youth facility, the police being funding for the police. So that was a sad happenstance of that. It just happened with that. We had plans for that in place. We were again, it's less expensive as money is right now. Now was the time to do that. I don't know what the cost of money will be in next May. Hopefully it will be affordable, but we won't know. Then it'll be on bonds, so it'll be up to the voters.
You talked about your career was serving, giving back. What experience do you think you feel that you have? What did you bring to the table when you first took office?
Well, I've always, and that's a very good question because I asked the former mayors and council member, why do you want me You know, what do I have that interests you? And I had ended up on the board of directors for a local organization. And there were 12 people on the board. And it was all about money. First time I got there, everyone wanted their budget. Everyone presented their budget, and they'd get angry when they couldn't get it. I remember sitting there and saying, well, if you give 20% less, you do a little less here, he can get his, and she can get theirs. Just kind of put that all together. And the chairman of the board was saying, well, how did you do that? That's never happened. So well, in my career, I had clients where, and this is out of Chicago. In the morning, I would be negotiating for my client who was a union against management on their health care. That afternoon, I might be negotiating against a union for a management client. So I saw both ends of the table all the time. And realized that people have to sit down and have to communicate. They have to talk. You have to listen to each side, figure out a plan. And that's what we've done here. We've been able to communicate with people. I think right now, the entities in the Aransas County have probably got the best working relationship they've had in years. Now, I'm not going to take credit for that, but I'm going to say that we've all been able to recognize that we need to speak as one voice. We need to work. We all work out of the same pot of money. It's taxpayers' money. We've got to continue to do that. We've got to realize where the money comes from and serve the people that provide us that money.
If you received $1 million grant for the city to use any way that you want, what would you do?
I'd ask for $2 million. I try to get a match somewhere. The three things that
You're only giving $1 million.
Only $1 million. Well, there's three things this community needs. We need healthcare. We need a secondary education piece, and we need something for the kids to do. So I would have to take a look at and see what the most I could get for that $1 million. I think we were right before Harvey. We were 4 days from signing a contract with a private university for teaching. I know I could get that for less than $1 million. I know I could rebuild the youth facility for about $600,000, so that would give you some money. And I think what we would do is try to recruit physicians to come to our community. So we try to attack the three things that we see within reason. I think you could do a little bit of reach.
Final question there. How much time on average is spent on mayoral duties?
About the time that I used to work when I worked full time. It's interesting because I start in the morning about 7 o'clock, 6:30 to 7 o'clock at home. Emails, texts, phone calls. And I'll get to the office depending on when the first meeting starts, about 8, 9, 10 o'clock. And then home for lunch, back. Usually there till 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and then back to more emails and phone calls. There's some stretches where I've worked 21 days in a row, 17 days in a row, and that's Saturdays and Sundays, because there's always a ribbon cutting, there's always something you have to go to. And that's fine. Doesn't make my wife real happy, but we get past it. So it's a full-time job right now. It wasn't this busy before Harvey. Harvey's changed the whole dynamics of the job. I tell people I signed up for budget and ribbon cuttings, and now I speak FEMA in 5 different languages. I know what cutting means. I mean, it's an amazing job. It's very time-consuming, and it's something that somebody, if they're going to do this, they have to be willing to put time in right now. I think we're probably 3 years from seeing that slow down, as long as we don't have another storm. But that's the time it's not right now.
One last question. With the potential for growth, do you see families as the majority of that growth?
I do. I think we're going to see that. We see it right now. We've got management and mid-management. We've got great paying jobs that are happening right now in the Portland area. There's people that want to come here. Our school system's great. This is a place people want to be, and it's going to be. We've always been very family oriented. We're going to get more family oriented, and I think it's a great place to raise a kid. That's our problem right now. Is so many people that are raised here. They go to school, they want to come back, but they can't because there aren't the good, high-paying jobs. There isn't the housing that they want to have, so they end up going away, coming to visit grandma and grandpa when they can. This is where they want to be. We're going to try to make that happen.
This is your last minute to go ahead and give us a wrap up what you stand for and what you want to.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody. Again, I've enjoyed what I've done. It's been a privilege working with everyone. Voters will make the decision. It's going to be up to the voters to come and vote, decide which way they want to go for the future. I know that unfortunately you can't make everyone happy. Learned that a long time ago. It's something that I don't like admitting, but we have people that aren't happy right now. Again, COVID, Harvey, there's been a lot of distress in our community. But we've got to work past it. You know, I was brought up to forget the half glass full or half empty. You know, we want to take that glass, overflow it, and get another glass. That's the way I was raised. Don't ever let anyone tell you can't do it. Just go do it. And that's what we're going to do here in Rockport. If you give us another chance, we'll get as far down the road as we can. I promise you, I can't finish it. There's not enough time left. The citizens back in the 80s, when they put the charter together, had the great sense to put in term limits, and I'm in the last term possible that I can serve. There's only 18 months left there. So if you'd like, I'd like to ask you for your vote, and thank you. I've enjoyed serving.
I have one more piece of interest from the medical community side. CCMC is returning essential emergency services to Rockport via 24/7 ER. CCMC is part of a larger system providing high-quality healthcare to the coastal bend. This program this evening would not be possible if not for the Rockport Fulton Chamber of Commerce. We would like to offer a special thank you to Church Unlimited for allowing us to hold the candidates panel and issues forum here in their facility. And of course, a very special thank you to Paulo, our moderator and local anchor, for the excellent job he did this evening. Thank you all for coming. Please be sure to cast your vote for the November 3rd election and travel safely. Thank you.
Here's one we didn't see you, but you can take it home with you.
Yeah. We watched it yesterday. Okay.
Oh.
And whoever gave the trick pin in the middle. Oh my God.
I was like, we're still on.
Okay, so.
Okay. I was trying to let that last 15 seconds roll out. Okay.
So this is gonna be